Today we are going to talk about BRI. China's Belt and Road Initiative BRI, sometimes referred to as the New Silk Road, is one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects ever conceived. Launched in 2013 by President Xi Jinping, the vast collection of development and investment initiatives would stretch from East Asia to Europe, significantly expanding China's economic and political influence. Some analysts see the project as an unsettling extension of China's rising power, and as the cost of many of the projects have skyrocketed, opposition has grown in some countries. Meanwhile, the United States shares the concern of some in Asia that the BRI could be a Trojan horse for China-led regional development and military expansion. Under President Donald J. Trump, Washington has raised alarm over Beijing's action, but it has struggled to offer government in the region a more appealing economic vision. The original Silk Road arose during the westward expansion of China's dynasty 206 before Christ, which forged trade networks throughout what are they today the Central Asian countries of Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, as well as modern day India and Pakistan to the south. These routes extended more than 4,000 miles to Europe. Central Asia was the center of one of the first waves of globalization, connecting eastern and western markets, spurring immense wealth, and intermixing cultural and religious traditions. Valuable Chinese silk, spices, jade, and other goods moved west while China received gold and other precious metals and glass products. Use of the routes peaked during the first millennium under the leadership of first the Roman and then Byzantine empires and then the Tang dynasty in China. But the Crusades, as well as advances by the Mongols in Central Asia, dampened trade, and totally Central Asian countries are economically isolated from each other, with intra regional trade making up just 6.2% of all cross border commerce. They are also heavily dependent on Russia, particularly for remittances. They make up one third of the gross domestic product (GDP) of Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. By 2018, remittances had dipped from their 2013 highs due to Russian economic crisis. Now, what are the China's plans for its new Silk Road? President Xi announced the initiative during official visits to Kazakhstan and Indonesia in 2013. The plan was two-pronged: the Overland Silk Road Economic Belt and Maritime Silk Road. The two were collectively referred to the first as the One Belt, One Road Initiative, but eventually became the Belt and Road Initiative. Xi's vision included creating a vast network of railway, energy pipelines, highway, and streamlined borders across both westward through the mountains, former Soviet republics, and southward to Pakistan, India, and the rest of Southeast Asia. Such a network would expand the international use of Chinese currency, the renminbi, and break the bottleneck in Asia connectivity. According to Xi, the Asian Development Bank estimated the region faces a yearly infrastructure financing shortfall of nearly $800 billion. In addition to physical infrastructure, China planned to build 50 special economic zones, modeled after the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone, which China launched in 1980 during its economic reforms under leader Deng Xiaoping. Xi subsequently announced plans for the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road at the 2013 Summit of Association of Southern Asian Nations in Indonesia. To accommodate expanding maritime trade traffic, China would invest in port development along the Indian Ocean, from Southeast Asia all the way to East Africa and some parts of Europe as well. China's overall ambition for the BRI is staggering. To date, more than 60 countries, accounting for two-thirds of the world population, have signed on to projects on indicating an interest in doing so. Analysts estimated the largest so far to be the $68 billion China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, a collection of projects connecting China to Pakistan Gwadar Post on the Arabian Sea. In total, China has already spent an estimated $200 billion on such efforts. Morgan Stanley has predicted China's overall expenses over the life of the BRI could reach $1.2 to $1.3 trillion by 2027, though estimates on total investments vary. Now, an important question arises over here, that what does China hope to achieve after all of this? China has both geopolitical and economic motivations behind the initiative. Xi has promoted a vision of more assertive China, while slowing growth and rocky trade relations with the United States of America have pressured the country's leadership to open new markets for its goods. To date, more than 60 countries, accounting for two-thirds of the world population, have signed on to the project or indicated an interest in doing so. Experts see the BRI as one of the main planks of a bolder Chinese statecraft under Xi, alongside the Made in China 2025 economic development strategy. For Xi, the BRI serves as a pushback against the much touted US pivot to Asia, as well as a way for China to develop new investment opportunities, cultivate export markets, and boost Chinese incomes and domestic consumption. Under Xi, China now actively seeks to shape international norms and institutions and forcefully asserts its presence on the global stage. Reuters, CFR Elizabeth C. Economy. At the same time, China is motivated to boost global economic links to its western region, which historically have been neglected. Promoting economic development in the western province of Xinjiang, where separatist movement has been on the upswing, is a major priority, as is securing long-term energy supplies from Central Asia and the Middle East, especially via routes the US military cannot disrupt. More broadly, Chinese leaders are determined to restructure the economy to avoid the so-called middle income trap. In this scenario, which has plagued close to 90% of middle income countries since 1960, wages go up and quality of life improves as low-skilled manufacturing rises, but countries struggle to the shift to producing higher value goods and services. Now, what are the potential roadblocks on this project? The Belt and Road Initiative has also stoked opposition. For some countries that take on large amounts of debt to fund infrastructure upgrades, BRI money is seen as potential poison chalice. BRI projects are built using low interest loans as opposed to aid grants. Some BRI investments have involved opaque bidding processes and required the use of Chinese firms. As a result, contractors have inflated costs, leading to cancelled projects and political backlash. Examples of such criticism abound. In Malaysia, Mahathir bin Mohamad, elected Prime Minister in 2018, campaigned against overpriced BRI initiatives, which he claimed were partially redirected to funds controlled by his predecessor. Once in the office, he cancelled $22 billion worth of BRI projects, although he later announced his full support for the initiatives in 2019. In Kazakhstan, mass protests against the construction of Chinese factories swept the country in 2019, driven by the concerns about cost as well as anger over the Chinese government's treatment of Uyghurs in Xinjiang province. More such stories are likely, according to a 2018 report by Center for Global Development, which notes that 8 BRI countries are vulnerable to debt crisis. CFR's Belt and Road Tracker shows overall debt to China has soared since 2013, surpassing 20% of GDP in some countries. Some governments in places such as Kenya and Zambia are carefully studying BRI investment before they sign up, and candidates in Malaysia have run and won campaigns on anti BRI platforms. Chinese leaders were reportedly surprised by such pushbacks, and BRI investment began to slow in late 2018. Yet by the end of 2019, BRI contracts again saw a significant uptick. Now, how has the United States responded to China-led regional integration? The United States has shared other countries' concern about China's intentions. Developing the economies of South and Central Asia is a long-standing US goal that intensified after the start of the US-led war in Afghanistan and President Barack Obama's pivot to Asia. The Obama administration frequently referred the need for the Afghan economy to move past foreign assistance. In 2014, then Deputy Secretary of State William Burns committed to the United States to returning Central and South Asia to the historic role as a vital hub of global commerce, ideas, and culture. In this spirit, the Obama administration supported a $10 billion gas pipeline project through Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. It also spent billions of dollars on road and energy projects in Afghanistan and used its diplomatic muscle to help craft new regional cooperation frameworks to foster Central Asian economic links. Some analysts have called on the United States to deepen its ties with Asian partners as the Obama administration tried to do with the Trans-Pacific Partnership (TPP), a deal rejected by Donald J. Trump. The Trump administration has instead tried to counter the BRI with the BUILD Act. This consolidated the Overseas Private Investment Corporation (OPIC), a US government agency for development finance, which complements the US Agency for International Development (USAID) into a separate agency with a $60 billion investment portfolio. Although this pales in a comparison to the more than $1 trillion China is expected to spend on the BRI. Advocates say it seeks to crowd in a larger pool of private investment by underwriting risk. Some have argued that the United States might find a silver lining in the BRI. Jonathan E. Hillman of the Center of the Strategic and International Studies says the United States could use BRI projects as a way to have China pay for infrastructure initiatives in Central Asia that are also in the US interest. Now, what is the role for third countries? Other countries have sought to balance their concerns about China's ambition against the BRI potential benefits. India has tried to convince countries that the BRI is a plan to dominate Asia, warning of what some analysts have called a string of pearls geo-economic strategy whereby China creates unsustainable debt burdens for the Indian Ocean neighbors in order to seize control of regional choke points. In particular, New Delhi has long been unsettled by China's decade-long embrace of its traditional rival. Pakistan, meanwhile, India has provided its own development assistance to neighbors, most notably Afghanistan, where it has spent $3 billion on infrastructure projects. The United States views India as a counterweight to a China-dominated Asia and has sought to knit together its strategic relationship in the region via the 2017 Indo-Pacific Strategy. Yet, Despite US misgivings, India was a founding member of China's Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank (AIIB), and Indian and Chinese leaders have invested in developing closer diplomatic ties. India does a lot with China in the multilateral arena for its own reasons, says CFR Aliza Aris. Japan. Tokyo has a similar strategy, balancing its interest in the regional infrastructure development with long standing suspicions about China. In 2016, Japan committed to spending $110 billion on infrastructure projects throughout Asia. Japan has, with India, also agreed to develop the Asia Africa Growth Corridor (AAGC), a plan to develop and connect ports from Myanmar to East Africa. Several countries in Central and Eastern Europe have accepted BRI financing, and Western Europe states such as Italy, Portugal, have signed provincial agreements to cooperate on BRI projects. Their leaders frame cooperation a way to invite Chinese investment and potentially improve the quality of competitive construction bids from European and US firms. Others disagree. French President Macron has urged Britain, suggesting during a 2018 trip to China that the BRI could make partner countries vassal states. Other skeptics connect the BRI with climate change. The Institute of International Finance, a research group that analyzes risks for the large Western banks, has reported that 85% of BRI projects can be linked to a high level of greenhouse gas emission. Others claim that China is using BRI funds to gain influence in Balkan countries that are on track to become EU members, thereby providing Chinese access to the heart of the European Union's common market. Moscow has become one of the BRI most enthusiastic partners, though it responded to Xi's announcement at first with resistance, worried that Beijing's plan would outshine Moscow's vision for economic union and impinge on traditional sphere of influence. As Russian relationship with the West has deteriorated, however, President Putin has plunged to the link his vision with the BRI. Some experts are skeptical of such an alliance, which they argue would be economically asymmetrical. Russia's economy and its total trade volume are both roughly one-eighth the size of China's, a gulf that the BRI could widen in the coming years. Now we will discuss about one of the most important part of BRI, which is Cpec. China-Pakistan Economic Corridor (Cpec) is a major and pilot project of the Belt and Road Initiative, which is proposed by Chinese President Xi. Cpec has become the framework and platform for comprehensive and substantive cooperation between China and Pakistan. Cpec is the important consensus reached by the leaders of both countries. The leaders of two countries have attached great importance as well as rendered active promotion to the construction of Cpec. It has also won across broad support for the political parties and peoples of two countries, which provided profound and solid public support for Cpec. In May 2013, Chinese Premier League proposed the initiative of Cpec during the visit to Pakistan, which immediately got positive response and support from the Pakistani government. In July 2013, during Prime Minister Sharif's visit to China, an MOU was signed to start work on Cpec. Up to now, a series of major projects are being implemented in a steady manner and are under smooth construction in general. Cpec has gradually entered into the full state of implementation from planning, which is playing an increasing role in leading and promoting the bilateral substantive cooperation between China and Pakistan. Cpec is of great significance to the development of China and Pakistan all-weather strategic cooperative partnership and the building of the community of shared destiny between China and Pakistan. Cpec will provide new opportunities, new vision, as well as new impetus to China-Pakistan relationship. Cpec is facing Pakistan as whole and will bring benefits to Pakistan people. It will effectively promote the economic and social development of Pakistan. The construction of Cpec will enhance connectivity and integration of development strategies of China and Pakistan, which is in the fundamental interest of our two people. Both sides are committed to building Cpec and completing a number of major projects with highly quality and on schedule so as to achieve win-win results and bring benefits to the people in China and Pakistan as well as the other countries in the region. As a large and systematic project which covers 2013 to 2030, Cpec needs joint and unremitting efforts by governments, companies, and all social sectors of China and Pakistan. In the process of its construction, both sides agreed on the principles of significant planning, step by step implementation, consensus through consultation, mutual benefits, and win win results, as well as ensuring quality and safety. Both sides agreed to make the list of prioritized on early harvest projects as well as the long term plan for Cpec. The priority projects or early harvest projects mean the projects which will completed before 2018 or 2020 for hydro projects for example. Cpec is a vision with the long term planning up to 2030. In the process of planning and construction of Cpec, both sides agreed that the governments of the two countries should play the guiding role and the companies as market entities should make investment in line with market rules. Both the governments and the companies with clear division of work as well as collaboration could work together to promote Cpec with constant progress. According to consensus reached by two countries, both sides agreed to promote 1 plus 4 pattern of economic cooperation featuring a central role of the Cpec and four key areas including the Gwadar port, energy, transportation infrastructure and industrial cooperation so as to achieve win-win result and common development. In the medium to long term, both sides will explore and expand cooperation fields to financial services, science and technology, tourism, education, poverty elimination, and city planning, etc., so as to meet the demands of deepening and expanding of China Pakistan all round cooperation and play a better role in a leading and promoting substantive cooperation between the two countries. To promote construction of Cpec, China and Pakistan have set up the Joint Cooperation Committee (JCC). There are 5 joint working groups under JCC, namely Long-Term Planning, Energy, Transportation, Infrastructure, Industrial Cooperation, and Gwadar Port. JCC secretariats are within the National Development and Reform Commission of China and Ministry of Planning, Development and Reforms of Pakistan respectively. The two secretariats are responsible for communicating and coordinating with the line ministries related to the construction of Cpec. JCC is responsible for the overall planning and coordination of Cpec, and the joint working groups are responsible for the detailed planning and implementation of the projects within its fields As of November 2016, JCC has convened 5 meetings and reached a series of consensus, playing an active role in promoting the construction of this project. Situated at the southern end of Cpec, near the ocean mount, Gwadar Port is an important project of the Cpec. In order to improve the operational capacity of the port, China Overseas Ports Holding Company Limited (COPHC) has carried out repairs and upgradation of the port facilities, and now the port has resorted its designed capacity. Cargo liners are visiting the port every month since mid-2016. On November 13, 2016, ceremony for the Cpec pilot project first trade convoy at Gwadar port was held. During this activity, a China-Pakistan joint convoy of trucks took goods from both countries to Gwadar port. This is the first time that a trade convoy successfully passed through the western part of Pakistan from the north to south. This is the first time the Gwadar port is exporting a large number of containers to overseas destinations. This is the first time the China-Pakistan co-organized trade convoy through Pakistan to Gwadar port. China and Pakistan are actively promoting the East Bay Expressway project and the new Gwadar International Airport project. Both sides are working together to develop a Gwadar Smart Port City Master Plan. Efforts are being made to improve the livelihood of the local people, particularly the construction of educational and medical projects such as China-Pakistan Friendship Primary School in Fakir, Gwadar, Gwadar Hospital, Gwadar Vocational College, and water desalination plant. Fakir Primary School has become the first project completed under Cpec. Energy is the source of power for economic development and a key factor in a substantial development of the Pakistan economy. Efforts are required to speed up the construction of energy projects so as to help Pakistan relieve energy shortage and achieve substantial development. Under the Cpec framework, both sides have identified 16 prioritized projects with a total capacity of 10,400 megawatts as well as 8 actively promoted projects. As of the end of 2016, Zunergi 300 megawatt solar project in Bahawalpur, Punjab has been completed, combined to the grid, and 50 megawatt Daud wind farm is completed and awaiting connection test. Construction is underway for 8 projects, namely Sachal 50 MW wind farm, Port Qasim coal farm, Sahiwal megawatt coal farm, fired power station, 100 MW GPS UAP wind farm, 720 MW hydropower wind power station, and Mouth coal fired power plant at the third block 2, Sindh with its matching mining project. Groundbreaking for 3 projects is expected to be achieved very soon, namely 873 MW Saki Kirani hydropower project, Mitari Port Qasim to Lahore transmission line, and Mouth coal fired power plant at 3rd block 1, Sindh with its matching mining project. Some other projects are being actively promoted, such as 1100 MW Kohala hydropower project, Gwadar coal-fired power plant, and Mitari Port Qasim to Faisalabad transmission line. Efficient and fast transportation network is of vital. China and Pakistan have reached consensus on the basis of one corridor multiple passages, aiming to benefit the economic and social development of all regions in Pakistan and provide effective connectivity to Gwadar port. The western route is definitely a part of Cpec. Right now, efforts are being made to advance road connectivity in the western parts of Pakistan, and the Chinese side is cooperating with the Pakistani side to create favorable conditions for the attracting investments in western and northern parts of Pakistan. With the implementation of various projects, Cpec will play an increasingly important role in promoting the economic development and uplifting the living standard across different parts of Pakistan. Please subscribe my channel and share this valuable information with your friends.